ain't even get my intro like I was supposed to. With so much chaos in the world, it's the album review club, and they killed Kofi. So this is a memorial service now. Let me get my brothers in here. Hello.
Goodbye. Aha.
Oh man, it's Count Nigula.
Hey. You can't use all the letters, so you get like the first two. Oh man, how's it going?
Man, have you seen Cheddar?
I don't know. Oh, you're the one with the Where's Waldo costume. You should be able to find him. Seems like that would be your specialty, my friend.
Earlier, Fulo was like, "I can't see what you're wearing." And I was like, "It's working."
You know what? I would go if I ever got invited to like a Halloween party that I didn't want to go to.
Oh shoot!
I'd be like, I'm going as John Cena. You
Hey,
just didn't see me there.
man, Fulo, just like Jeff Bezos and shit.
You dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. Well, nah, man. What's going on, boys?
What's up, guys? How goes it?
Man, have you seen Cheddar?
Look, man. Cheddar's Cheddar's going as the Invisible Man.
Yeah, ever since he got back into wrestling, he wants to play as John Cena.
Man. So,
What's going on, boys? What's going on?
well, if you pop, it's another week, another review
Back at
of the album.
Hey,
Another
what you
song.
got?
See, I don't have anything to sip on. See, my bad.
Body on.
I might have to go run and grab something real fast.
Hey, well, you grabbing something? Because if you is, we can see what other jokes we can get off of just before we get started.
Nah, man, I'm just gonna leave it alone, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep this. You know what? This review, we're gonna keep it real civil. We're gonna keep it real calm and respectful. We're gonna keep it real civil, calm and respectful. Boom, bomb, and elected. And we're gonna let 40 tell us about this album that he chose. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Gil Scott-Heron. You know what I'm saying? Mad respect to him. Shout out to Corella the Trail, Poetiana. We appreciate all the support. You know what I'm saying? We're just getting settled in, just getting started. And 40's about to tell us about this album that he selected for us to review this week and tell us a little bit about why.
Well, I picked this album just because we're talking about like mental health awareness, right? So what better than to pick a New York poet, that's just so like he has so much like I just love the depth of his work. I love the way he does his poetry. And then, I discovered him off of like Kanye, just with the My Way Home. I heard that and I was like, what? Because every time I listen to some Kanye album, like who's he sampling? What's going on here? And then I fell in love with just Gil Scott-Heron, and I was just like, all right. And then Pieces of a Man, like this album, whenever I'm going through something or just like it's something that you can just play in the background, and you like whenever you fall into a song, you're just like, oh, hell yeah. It's like it's kind of a weird mix of just a lot of like neo soul poetry, like really good spoken word poetry too, and then like he has a great voice for singing. It's just a great album, like, and it's wholesome. Like there's a lot of songs on here that I'll get into that are just it's great. But no, I'll go and pass it off to Wu if he wants to do the tail of the tape. There's even information because of how old this is.
I ain't really found out. It's more so a cheddar bomb. So remember the cheddar. We're gonna start off with a cheddar bomb. But of course, before we get started, a toast to the people. A toast to the people. That's
Yo, drink water, man. Y'all need to drink water, bro. Y'all need it right now. Y'all need to drink water.
Drink that water.
But
Do it.
nah.
It is
I've been drinking blood.
hold on. I gotta get my notes together. So I'm
See,
unorganized.
this. You know what? See, this is why production. That's why I texted the group chat out production. I need more. I need I need my fact checkers with the scripts already.
Man, so this Cheddar Bomb is brought to you by the Teller Tape. It's one single, technically, which
Mm-hmm.
is Home is Where the Hatred Is.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the revolution will not be televised. Blew up randomly, and it became one of Rolling Stone's top 500 songs, ranking in at 258. So,
Oh, man.
I mean,
I like it.
that was my quick Cheddar Bomb.
Hey. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So like for me, I already kind of said everything, right? This album, so Gil Scott-Heron does have like a lot of also it's said that he has a lot of influence on like hip hop and whatnot. I think this album has like a lot of like, what's the best word to put it? It's very poignant. Revolution will not be televised is fantastic. It was, a lot of people didn't understand it, but a lot of people who understood it. It's such a like revolutionary mindset. But then there's a lot of songs on here that are just like chill or just a good description of people going through things, people going through hard times, and just, but he always kind of paints things in either like a very, there's always like either like a silver lining, or there's like something like he's always giving you like a positive message, which I love. Oh snap! Out of nowhere, talk about positive messages and silver linings, and
Top
here comes
rope.
Hey,
Man.
the money out of nowhere.
What's happening?
What's up, money? How goes it, buddy?
Apologize. Someone's alarm. Just to not wake somebody up. But what's good, fellas? It's your boy Cheddar.
hey, what is you
Hey.
ass?
I'm a duck. Ducks fly together, man. I'm out here. I'm flying V, coming from the top ropes with
Um,
the slap shot from downtown.
well, 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 since you're catching up, Justin the Vampire and Fullo is Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Touche. I can't even do that. Where my baby oil?
Say something inspirational. Give us your favorite rock line. Go ahead. Do your favorite rock line.
My favorite rock line.
Yeah.
At least this album is over, so I don't have to listen to it again.
Wow. Oh, it's gonna be like that. You're about to rock bottom this. Okay. All right.
Look.
All right.
But
How about you be a better host and you go ahead and pass it off
yeah.
to food?
I mean, let's go. If you got that hate, in your heart, that Halloween spirit up to tomfoolery. Go ahead, Fullo.
Oh, dang, he started Fullo.
Now go ahead, Fullo. Let's set it off.
I'm gonna go ahead and be real. So we're starting off with like the positives.
No. I mean, what do you even know about this album? Like, what's going on?
Oh, so what I know about this album, everybody knows about the revolution will be televised. I knew that Gil Scott-Heron was a poet from the '70s. I've obviously never gone back and listened to any of his actual stuff because he's not really he's like a musician kind of. He's a poet first, musician second, and you can kind of hear that through this album where it's like. It's clearly spoken word. It took actually. I googled him. I googled this album after about the fifth song because I was like, "This doesn't sound good," but I feel like there's a reason as to why this doesn't sound good. And then we look up like how this album's put together. You're kind of like, okay, like it doesn't sound good to me. I don't like it, but I understand. Like, it's not because it's bad. It's because he went about making this a very specific way. It was basically most of it was adaptations from his spoken word. So spoken word is not written to music typically, and then they put music to it. So that's why some of the instrumentals might be okay, but he's like all over it. You can't even really review this like it's an actual album or like a music album. You have to like take the spoken word, listen to what he's saying, then you listen to the music, and you can try to listen to it together. But it just, as far as like appealing to the ear, it's like It's not. Like I would never ever listen to this again. I'll add this is the second. I want to say this is the second album or maybe third album that we've done where it's just like I wouldn't. If anybody brings this album up around me, I'll be like, I'm good, bro. I'll just continue to listen to this. And again, I want to point out it's not because he's bad. It's because it'd be like The Rock trying to make I don't know a yoga workout.
DC
It'd be
movie.
like I get that you work out, but this is a little bit different. It's like I get that you like to lift weights, but this is yoga. This is different. That's what this was. It's like, and I get all the respect that he was getting and all the critical acclaim, blah blah. But nah, I'm about to slide on this album.
All right. Well, Pat, who do you want to hear from now?
Well,
Holy crap.
I'm going to say, as you guys probably heard last week, I have no experience with Gil Scott-Heron because I thought half the time I thought you guys were trying to say Jill Scott. So I mean, other than the Revolution movie televised, I have heard that before, but like I've never heard of. I never knew who it came from. I never have listened to him before or knew really anything about him. So that was my experience before this, and I I I didn't know that I didn't know about the background, I guess, kind of behind this album. It does make a little bit more sense. I won't say I hated it, but I will say it grew on me a little, the tiniest of bits. Uh, but I get it. It makes a lot more sense now. I did enjoy the instrumentals a lot more than like his voice and even like
Whoa.
a lot of what he was doing.
Like for like
I
for
didn't
like
hate it.
four like hold on quick. I want to step in real fast. Again, there's no disrespect to Gil Scott-Heron.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like his his voice is like made for spoken word.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
absolute
See, the thing is,
yeah,
ironically,
it's
that was
absolute garbage for singing.
yeah,
But and
Uh,
and and
yeah.
and with all and once again, not to shade him too much, it's this was like his first or second like foray into trying to make music. This wasn't like he
oh,
knew what his sound was like. So you know what I'm saying? This is one of those things where it's just like I'm not gonna go hard on this album towards the artist because I feel like it's a very specific type of approach that he was taking. But if you want me to analyze this from a musical standpoint, which is what we're gonna do, I'm about to crash out.
I will say, it's
Crash
kind of.
out.
I will say it's kind of ironic because like there's a part of my time, there's a point in time when I was listening to it, I thought to myself, I kind of wish he had just done spoken word, like because the song Revolution will be televised, not be televised, is straight up just like a poem,
You
right?
won't. Okay, I don't know if you heard
hold
this
on,
because you
hold on.
you joined a little bit late. But I said I listened like
Hey,
4 or 5 songs of this, and then I was like, oh, this doesn't sound right. And I looked up, and I was like, oh, okay, this was spoken word, and then they essentially put music to it.
Yeah.
All right, but
I'm gonna give y'all another cheddar bomb. This was his first album.
yeah,
Yeah.
man, my man was 21, 22 years old. I can't even get mad about it. Once again, I appreciate what was trying to be done here, but like the same way 40 was like, I just don't like the way it sounds. When we were talking about Lauryn Hill, I abhor the way that he sounds on this album. Like it is bad.
Yeah.
But go ahead, 40.
All right.
Take
Oh
the
no,
slide.
Oh,
I didn't.
no.
Hey, you know.
Oh, no. Woo, go ahead.
I,
Nah, man, go ahead. Yo, go. I don't even see him up here, bro.
of
Go ahead.
course,
We can't. Where's Woo at? Where's Woo?
I can't even see him up here.
of course, my introduction was through the Revolution will not be televised because I mean, African American Studies minor, it's on everywhere. So,
Here we go. Here we go.
Degree
but if you listen to that song
drop.
first, it don't set you up for this album though. Like for real.
Yeah.
When he sound like that old man in the men's choir who can't really sing, but he sings better than everybody else in the choir, so they let him get more solos. That's
Hold
what
on. We gotta slow it. We gotta slow it down because 40 don't know what we're talking about. All right, so a 40. So at Black Choirs.
While I bring this album to the table. Okay.
Hold
I was gonna say.
on.
Okay.
Hold on. I just want to point out. So at Black churches, you know, everybody think they can sing/sang, right? So what can happen sometimes is there'll be one motherfucker in the crowd or in the choir, and you're just like, oh, man, why is he always being so extra? Every so often on Sundays, he'll get to sing solo, not because he can actually sing, but it's like he's so extra. The choir director would feel like, all right, he'll feel like I'm actually ignoring him if I don't give him the mic. That's basically what he's saying. I got to connect the dots for you because
He,
I feel like you might have heard the Revolution Will Not Be Televised and you thought it was like a grunge song. And then you did the research and you're like, oh, he's black? He's from the 70s? Oh,
I
no.
don't
I will
think I
say
have to
this
do
album is
the
probably
research off the first out. If I didn't know if I didn't,
man,
okay.
hey, so why did you love it, man? Put us on to something new, bro.
Yeah, man.
I
Wait,
will
what?
say this whole album is probably full of his fault. All the times you done called out 40 for being mixed and being white. It's probably the reason why we're doing the song now. It's your fault. So I blame you.
First of all, whoa, 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 whoa.
I blame you.
I've never said anything about him being mixed.
Like
I
I said.
I may have alluded to him hating black people, but we're just talking about facts at this point.
Oh,
Only
all
reason
right,
he wanted to do his
hold on,
album
hold
is
on. Let me.
he thought it was full of Negro
And
spirituals.
and, and to the, and this episode
All right,
about
well, I'll go. I'll set it off. I'll set it off. What? I'm bringing to the attention why I chose
I'll
this
be right
album.
back.
Like, what songs really stood out to me, right? Home is where the hatred is. I love that song. I love everything about that song. The way
Oh,
that the way he paints a picture because of his spoken poetry, right? And then because of the accompaniment of his like the instrumentals and like the musicians that he has that accompany him and kind of work with him on a lot of these songs. Because he's obviously not like to my knowledge, I don't think he plays any instruments. And it's a lot of and then there's like during that time frame, a lot of these guys who were doing like spoken poetry would have like a full like instrumental cast that would build songs around their stuff, right? So Home is where the hatred is like fantastic. And then as I kind of constantly listened to this album, Lady Day and John Coltrane, I really liked it. It was just so uplifting. And then When You Are Who You Are, like those like that little stint between like the third and sixth song, between the spoken poetry and just like the uplifting nature of those songs, with the exception of Home is Where the Hatred Is, which is a very tough song to listen to. It does have a silver lining at the end, but it's still kind of like a hey, this guy, like, what was it? A junkie walking through. Hold up, it's basically just people dealing with drugs and shit, which is tough, especially in like that time frame. But I think I started falling in love with. I think I'll call it Morning. I just love the way he kind of is like, hey, I'm just gonna paint the sky like just clear. I'm just gonna paint it clear skies, and he's like kind of like changing the mentality, which when it comes to like talking about albums that are good for mental health, he's very like he always sets a positive note on things. Like, hey, you might be struggling, but you can kind of make things good for yourself, kind of deal. And he's constantly always balancing it between that. But those are the songs that I really like. I loved. There's a couple other songs that really do like I really enjoyed, but they're just so they're long songs. The Prisoners, 9 minutes. Peace is not 6 minutes, and a lot of those songs really don't start until like the middle. Which if you can get past that, it's cool. But sometimes it is pretty lengthy.
um,
But I'll go ahead, go ahead.
which I'm glad you brought that up because I'm sorry to be jumping around, but one of my Nas was The Prisoner, straight up, because you always complaining about something being too long,
Mm,
but every single time you give us a 5 plus 6 7 8 plus 10 minutes. The first
yeah,
minute is them warming up.
yeah, yeah. No. I mean that's why I make the point of it. I do like there's like the songs I pointed out are all like 3 minute songs. Even Home is Where the Hatred Is. That's a 3 minute, like barely 30-second song,
Man,
and it's just easy. Like it's a very easy thing. But then some of these like more specific songs about like like men struggling, Pieces of a Man, The Prisoner, Peace. Those are long songs. Toast of the People is like 3 minutes. It's just a celebration. Like that's a. But yeah, to your point, yes, I do bring albums that will randomly have like a 10-minute song on there, and I will agree, can't do it. But no, go ahead. Whoever wants to, if Jedi, since you came back, let's hear some positivity before we go to Fulla, or maybe lack thereof. Who knows?
no, um, it's one, I guess, sort of kind of positive. It kind of goes both sides for me, but like, is the fact that a lot of these songs sounded very similar-ish, like the instrumentals of them. So it was kind of easy to kind of fade into like I remember like I was listening to this on a car ride on a car drive, and like I thought I was on the third song. The next thing you know, I look and I'm like on like song like 6 or 7. I'm like, oh man, we've been transitioning through like 3 or 4 different songs because I kind of would sort of tune him out a little bit, and like actually, I'm like, oh, I'm a couple songs later because everything sounds very sort of similar. Which I couldn't tell if that was maybe because I don't listen too much jazz. And I know like at least on Apple Music, he's listed as vocal jazz, right? So I didn't. There's like I don't know if that's just a jazz thing where a lot of jazz songs tend to sound the same on an album, but like it kind of would fade. It's a plus and a minus for me. It can go either
I'll
way.
here I'll go. Here's my little thing for right now.
Oh,
To
okay.
your defense, right? Sign of the Ages and then Or Down You Fall. Those kind of are like built on top of each other, and then it goes right into the Needle's Eye, and
Yeah.
it feels like into like Fullo's point where it's like he does like spoken word, which
Mhm.
then they go and build music around it. It feels like they're just pulling pages back to back, and then they're just adding like soundtracks. So as he finishes one like poetry into it, like the next poetry, they're just continuing the jazz progression. So not changing the sound that much. And like from like song 7 to like track 10. And then
Yeah.
the prisoner
Yeah.
really does establish itself, but like there is that little stint of just, oh, this is a very like those songs are meant to be
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So yeah. But go ahead, keep
And
going. Sorry about
I don't know, cause okay, I don't get Apple Music half the time to be honest with you, because I got three
that.
tracks on that album that apparently I was listening to it and I was like, this is not him at all. This is somebody else that came in to singing, and like apparently it's by someone called Black and Blues. Which I don't know why they put it on the album because I found out way too late that this actually had nothing to do with the album at all. But those are some of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
And ironically, I was like, why would you put somebody else on your album that has like a little bit better music than you at all? But just to go back to actually specifically him. So from this album, I did really like the Needle's Eye. I did like how a lot of these songs, when you did listen to them, it sounded like they were. Some of them did sound very positive. Like a happy, like kind of feel to it. So I was like, oh, I get what 40 would like brings up, especially like for mental health week or month or whatever it is. Um, so there was a lot of positivity kind of raining through some of these songs. But there was which one was it? It was I think it was when you are who you are. It's like he's like, oh, Albert, hit it, Albert. And Albert came in with the guitar solo that was kind of hot that I really appreciated. So like I said, the instrumentals, I did like the instrumentals on a lot of these songs. So that'd be like another kind of positive for me. Um, but and oh yeah, to ask just bounce it back to you real quick, 40. You this has actually kind of nothing to do with anything. But did you enjoy that? You liked the Andre Flute album, right? That's something that you actually kind of you're one of the few people that listened to that and really kind of enjoyed it.
Well, the Andre Flute album, straight up, is ambient music, which is like a whole different genre. That is something that is like, if you were trying to do some yoga or just try to like get yourself into a different headspace, that's what you kind of turn on.
It's because
It's
there's a
it's
couple
a whole
songs that I
different
heard some
acquired
flutes
taste.
coming through pretty strong on this, and I was like, I wonder if 40 really liked that flute Andre Flute album. It was just a random thought that popped in my head as I
No,
was
I
listening to
appreciate I appreciate jazz flute, right?
it.
Because there's a lot of times where, like in jazz, a lot of times they're trying to keep the same like key, unless they're there's a song called Giant Steps where like the key is everything. Like it's a really high level song and it requires you to have a lot of extensive knowledge in order to actually play that. That's why like if you listen to that song, there's a
You
piano
said the
guy who
keys everything.
There's
yeah,
a lot of
there's
there's a lot of
a
keys.
joke in a lot of jazz musicians for Giant Steps. I think it's Miles Davis that
Hey,
does it.
Giants.
you know another song that is
John
very key.
Coltrane.
Another song.
Sorry,
Hey,
go ahead.
speaking of John Coltrane, that was one of the songs that I liked. The song where he's talking about
Yeah,
John Coltrane.
Lady Day, and John
That was
Coltrane. When
another big
they...
positive for me, actually. Yeah. But go ahead, Who?
Yeah, go ahead, Woo.
Hey, hit that shit one more time.
Where's Where's Wudo at? I'm sorry.
Um, but yeah, I'm gonna add some more positivity to this before we pass it on to Jeff. But
So you smell he's cooking already.
of course, the revolution will not be televised. It's a legendary song, so you can't look past that. That's one of his greats. Um, but of course, it kind of overshadows the project, in my opinion. But a toast to the people, because I personally felt like this album would be a lot better if he had like some sort of background singers or something that
Mhm.
kind of kept them together. But of course, the instrumentals, like them breaking off it's like a solo in every single song, like from some random musician that you got in the background. So that was pretty dope, and that's what I enjoyed from this album. But if it didn't have those 3 extra songs,
Those
I would have.
songs were fire. I will say. Chains was another big one for me too. Like those 3 songs. I don't know who Black and Blues is, but he needs to go ahead and drop an album. He or she.
That's actually part of the. I think that's Gil's like accompaniment band, basically. So like when he let like the last 3 songs, so because they still kind of used him, but those were like, to my knowledge, those are actually part of his like group, like the ensemble he got with him, basically.
Don't get it twisted. If they ain't had those 3 songs, I would have slid on this album.
I mean, I respect it.
So those are
Go ahead.
technically specifically part of the album because I thought like I looked at the track list
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
and I couldn't find them on it. Like at least on the Wikipedia thing, I noticed that
So
they weren't on the track list anywhere.
so the way it is that Gil worked with a lot of like musicians because he was like an accomplished poet, right, during this time frame. So a lot of this was during a time where like musicians would kind of just use poets to kind of build off like albums or like vice versa. Because the music industry during that time, it was like everyone was trying to do something, and there was a whole bunch of different sounds during like that 70s, 80s era. But it was really hard to kind of get jazz on its own, so you had to kind of have somebody with him. So no, but like yeah, Gil Scott off this first one, he made a lot of influences in like a lot of the jazz musicians, and so later on albums he would work with other like accomplished jazz musicians, but it was still kind of the same thing where it's like it's a word like spoken word with a musician in the background. Go ahead.
We gotta get to his airness. He has to say something nice.
Go ahead, Michael Jordan.
All right, what you got for us, baby?
I don't really have any highlights for this album. I have as like Wu just said, you gotta give it to The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It's a classic in the genre, but it definitely overshadows like the rest of the album. The rest of the album is nowhere near as good as it. It's nowhere near as cohesive as that is. And yeah, there was pretty much nothing else. I will never, as I said before, I'll never listen to this again. I think that this is there was definitely some tracks that weren't bad, and I don't think again you have to give this like a little, you got to give him a little bit of like credence and a little bit of leeway because of the fact that he didn't know how to make music. But I'm also not gonna sit up here and cap and act like this music is good. So it's like for what was produced, it's mid, and it's like his voice sonically sounds like really really bad. Like when it comes to music, like it sounds absolutely horrible. And yeah, so I'm gonna save the rest of what I have to say for lowlights so I can really get into it. But like, yeah,
Hey,
like,
I think hey, you don't need no low lights. I think we good.
I mean, like the low light for me was pressing play on the album. Like it's like, okay, you know what?
Yeah, let's start with the low
It
lights.
feels like a
Go ahead.
Let's go ahead.
Let's
snake this. Like
you
snake
said what?
draft. Like snake draft.
Yeah, go ahead and just go into it, man.
Let's go. Okay, so
like as soon
Lady Day and John Coltrane, a lot of these songs are brought down by how he sonically sounds as a vocalist. I had to go back and listen to some of these songs because his voice was so distracting on the track, I couldn't really hear the instrumental. So I had to go back and listen to some of these songs, just the instrumental. I like the instrumental for Lady Day and John Coltrane. I love the instrumental for Home.
all right, okay.
What?
Okay, all right.
What?
So
No, keep going. Why are we cutting him off? He's heating up.
What's going on?
He's heating up. Let him shoot.
What's the problem?
Why?
What's the problem? What's the problem? I'm just.
No, I mean like I'm. It's not a bad deal.
It's like home is where the hatred is. Love the beat, hate him sonically. That's once again that's gonna be a recurring theme throughout most of this. When You Are Who You Are. I may have to go back and listen to that one because, like Kofi said, they kind of started to blend together. So I don't want to comment too much on When You Are Who You Are, and I'll think it Call It Morning because in my mind, I think I may be confusing them as like the same song or different songs. Mm-hmm. Pieces of a Man and The Prisoner sort of highlights only in the sense of when by then I'm already used to how he sounds. Like by then I'm just like I kind of knew how I needed to listen. Once again, when I got to track 5 of this album, I stopped listening and I went to Google and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like what is like why does it sound like this? And like it's so disjointed. And that's kind of like the theme for the whole album for me. That's why there are no other highlights except for the first one. The Revolution will not be televised. It seems like it was almost solely successful because of the lyrical content of the day and its relevance and how long it's lasted of what he was saying. Because everything else doesn't hit that hard, and you start to really have to listen to how the song's put together, it falls apart completely. So yeah, man, this is a tough one because I know that Gil Scott-Heron is like a legend. Now one thing I will say that is a positive, despite the fact that I think that this is bad, and this is a bad listen. I can see where people say this was like proto rap or a precursor to rap because it's it was like an attempt at you just I don't sound good. I'm just gonna use my lyrics. I don't sound good. My voice does not sound good. I'm just gonna use my lyrics and we're gonna make this song. And there are certain times where it kind of works. It really works on the Revolution will be televised. Will not be televised. Like on that, it really like it almost sounded like a hip hop song. If you listen to a lot of hip hop artists, they reference that song. But like everything else.
There's a part in the Revolution will be televised where the flute comes in out of nowhere because it starts like the flute keeps going in and then the drums start to hit more and that's when he starts going, the Revolution will not be televised, the Revolution will not be and he keeps saying it and then the whole accompaniment starts to crash out a little bit. That was cool. Like I do, you know.
And before I pass it back, I'm gonna pass it to Wu first. Before I pass it to Wu, what I will say is this: I'm a big fan of 1970s and 1960s music. One of my favorite artists pre-1990 is Curtis Mayfield. Curtis Mayfield made the Superfly soundtrack. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. Otis Redding, all of them.
Yeah.
I listen to music that is like adjacent to this time period, but this was just so individualistic to what he was doing, and I don't really know how many people were doing this at the same time that I give him a pass. Some artists that we've gone through before, shout out to Amine, where it's like, why is this project bad? I can't really put my finger on it, but I blame that nigga. I blame who made it.
Hey, can I defend you?
Or like the Gorillaz album. It's like, I don't really know what's going on here, but you guys are responsible for the reason why this album sounds like this.
Let me defend Polo.
Hold on. This album, I'm not putting it on him because it's just like, look, man, it's 1970. I'm 21 years old. I don't think this is gonna blow up and become some noteworthy, legendary album that someone's gonna try to review 50 years from now. So I don't even place it on him. So he gets a pass. This doesn't reflect my opinion on Gil Scott-Heron at all. It's more about my opinion on 40. So, Will, what's up to you?
Right. Hold on. To Polo's credit. No. To Polo's credit, there is like an excerpt in like when this album was released that no one gave a shit because it like to all of Polo's points, this was completely something else and no one gave a shit because there was other cats doing things in that like using the same sounds, the same jazz, the same soul. And so everyone was like, hey, there's other guys doing this so much better voices, better music, like accompaniment. So to that point, and it took like years for people to look back on this album and go like, oh, wait a second, there's some good stuff on here. So to Polo's credit, he's not saying anything crazy.
I will say sometimes, bro, I feel like this is me throwing my one flag for the live. I will say I do hate when people go back to albums and try to gas them up. I don't like that, bro. Because you to a certain extent, you got to take an album for what it was when it came out. Not for all of it, but you got to take an album for what it was when it came out. And it's like, I don't like when people try to do retroactively and be like, oh my God, this is so deep, and blah, blah. Look, bro, if you like it, you like it. But like, don't try to change like what was going on at the time and the reason why it wasn't well received. Like,
there's nothing wrong for retroactive cult classic.
No. There's nothing wrong with a retroactive cult classic. But typically cult classics are not going to be albums where people are going to go back and argue with you and say, no, it is great. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, it's where it is. It's like, what's that movie? Donnie Darko or whatever?
Yeah.
Donnie Darko is a mid movie. It's fine because people still love it. You can love something. What have we been saying since the beginning of this?
It's okay.
Mid is okay. Not everything needs to be the greatest thing in the world. But yeah, go ahead, Will. It's on you, big dog. Low lights.
I mean, I already gave you mine. I already said The Prisoner because it was 10 minutes. Like I can do 3s and 4s, but
Doom,
man is
doom,
straight on, man.
doom.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like this will be better with less or with more. I can go either way with it. If you give them some ad libs, or you give them some background singers, you know, you might be able to work something out of here. You know what I'm saying? You got the lyrics, you ain't got the voice though.
He ain't got the voice. He got. You should let Michael sing it.
or
You should let Michael sing it.
you can go less with it and just make it a jazz like fancy restaurant music.
Okay.
That says a
Okay.
lot.
It's the best
Now,
elevator music
see,
I ever heard.
no. See, y'all try to act like what I was saying was disrespectful, and now this man is basically calling this man's music elevator
It's
music.
the best elevator music I ever heard.
He's calling his elevator music on some Amine shit.
Nah, for real. Like for real, like yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hey, when it gets to those, like when it gets to like the breakdown and they'll come through, they had their little solo. I'm like, oh shit, it's all fine. Then he starts singing again.
Are you talking about like the peace part where it's like peace to all my brothers? That is a good spot.
I'm talking about like the whole thing, cause there was like a solo on each song.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
Well, hold on.
hey,
To
who
be
this
fair,
feature
to be
got
fair,
that
to be
on the
fair, to be fair,
saxophone?
every song, because it was spoken word, sounds like a solo. Every song sounds like someone just
Yeah.
like, and now we're gonna pass it to Brother Heron.
Yeah. No, there is actually like a lot of solos on each of these songs where it just, I mean, not some of this, like the more slower ones, but
You know
like
what this
Homeless
reminds me
Love and
of?
Hatred has a
You know
pretty
what
cool.
this reminds me of? This reminds me of when Jay-Z and Linkin Park did that mashup. And I want you to imagine if it didn't work. Like you have Jay-Z's lyrics, you have Linkin Park's music, and Numb Encore went right together like a glove. People forget there were other
It was
songs
like
from
10
that
songs on
mashup.
that thing.
They didn't go together like that. That's what this album is. It's a guy taking his spoken word and being like, hey man, let's just throw some music up here. And it's just like, well, what if it doesn't sound good? And he's like, I'm 21. It's 1970s. People is racist outside.
Going
Let's
down
just,
here.
it don't matter. It don't matter if it sounds good. And that's what we got. Oh, come on. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I think it's on Cheddar, man. Go ahead. Cheddar. Low lights.
Well, lights for me, kind of like I said, how a lot of songs are very similar. It kind of bleeds into each other for me at some point. Um, like I said, it can go either way. It could be a little bit of a highlight. It could be a little bit of a low light. Like I did because I remember like the first time I heard this like because I literally had a 4 hour drive like forwards and backwards, right? I tried listening to the forwards and I stopped listening. Like I think after like the second or third song I was like I don't, and I regretted listening to it for like the next couple of days.
Damn.
And then no,
Yeah.
but
Damn.
to be fair, like on the way back, I was like, oh, you know, this isn't that bad. Like the instrumentals, I do like the instrumentals a lot. There's just something in his voice. It wasn't as bad as like when I was first listening to it. Once I kind of got like Phil said, once I kind of got used to his voice a little bit more and like what was going on, it wasn't as bad. But like the first listen, I was really regretting. Like, I couldn't figure out why because I was like, none of it sounded terrible. I just didn't know why I was not looking forward to listening to it again. But then, like I said, on second watch, it was a little bit easier. You know, just kind of I had to get my ears used to it. And it wasn't that bad.
You do have
Kind of
to retune your ears.
yeah.
So that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it was I couldn't figure it out. I tried to explain it. I was like, maybe it's just I don't like '70s music or from back in the day. I just couldn't figure out what was going on. But I would have liked this more. Like I thought about it. Like I don't know if y'all remember the Get Down or like just watching a show from the '70s. If this was playing in the background, I would be like, oh man, I really enjoy this. But to have to just listen to it without anything else, it was just kind of it was tough the first few times around. But like, if I can think of myself, I was watching the show, pop this on in the background to set the mood to put me in the '70s. Oh man, it would have been fire. It would have been great. But yeah,
I don't know about fire, but I feel what you're saying.
yeah. No, I'm misspeaking. I was a little bit misspoken. But yeah, in terms of any specific, like I don't. Yeah, Prisoner being 10 minutes is out of control. And to be honest with you, I thought that was three different songs because, like I said, it was tuning in and out at that point. I thought I was going through three
It,
different songs. I just realized now it was 10 minutes when he brought it up earlier. I was like, oh, that was just one song. But
that song has 3 acts.
Yeah.
That song has 3 acts, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's like 3 different sheets of poetry that all deal with the prisoner, and they're just like, here's the first part, here's the second part, here's the third part.
Yeah.
Because
You know what they're gonna do?
yeah,
You know,
They're gonna ball it. They're gonna ball that shit in
you
there.
know, before we get to the ratings, before we give it to 40 to talk about his lyrics, I want to change it up on how we do things a little bit. I want to ask 40.
yeah.
I want to ask 40. So, what do you think? What do you think a criticism of this album that you would give validity to would be one where you'd be like, I can see it. I can see what you're saying.
Well, I'll
And
say
What
wait,
we
wait,
said.
like this, right?
and it doesn't have to be anything that we said. I'm talking about like just imagine something that someone said about this album that was like a negative, and you'd be like, all right, nigga, I see what you're saying.
Could I answer this while incorporating the songs that I didn't like? Because I feel like I think they would both intro. So to your point, right? This man's 21 years old. He just started, and a lot of it is just him promoting his spoken poetry, right? So there's a lot of times where there's just stuff on here that they could have just saved for another day, right? They didn't need to go and have it on this album. They didn't need to have some of these songs be the way they were. And I think that's a really good criticism that you put out, was just like, because they're trying to do 2 things at once, they're really losing the point of a lot of the stuff. Like they're not blending it properly. Which for me, as someone who's used to like Gil Scott-Heron's voice, right? It's not a good voice. But I listen to Jimi Hendrix and I love Jimi Hendrix guitar playing. But one of his main criticism for Jimi Hendrix, I love Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia. These guys can't sing. They don't have vocal range. And I'm fine with it because it's like, for me, it's like hearing someone karaoke that I don't dislike. And like, he has a very similar voice to Jimmy in the way that they can't hit certain notes like at all. Like there's just not a chance. So the music accompaniment is where you start to like tune in. You kind of tune out the like lack of like musical vocal ability or range, right? Which if your criticism is that his vocal abilities are not good, I think that stands the test of time. I think the only thing that makes his vocal range somewhat interesting and unique is the fact that he's a poet that is good at spoken word, and he's probably great in like live settings, right? Because you hear like Revolution will be televised, and he goes and has a great way of controlling the way he speaks and the manner at which he speaks, which makes it like this very like, it sounds like someone in a radio, right, talking and just going like, "Hey, the revolution will not be televised, brother." It's like, you better not cop out, and it's like it just feels like it's like supposed to be there. But here's the problem: "Save the Children" is not a good song at all. I don't dislike the message that is put forth on that song,
I'd hope
but
not.
no, it's really hard to be like, man. Like I was thinking about this because as soon as I was like listening to this album, because I was the one who recommended it. As soon as "Save the Children" came out, I was like, that is not a good song, and that really can take you out of it. I had months to listen to this because this is something that's always been on my rotation. So a lot of the stuff that you guys have complaints about is just stuff that I've been desensitized to just through enjoying the spoken poetry with the jazz. I just separate that like the whole thing. But "Save the Children's" so bad, and because his vocal range isn't good, because the song isn't that amazing, because the accompaniment of the music isn't that amazing or inspired, the rest of the songs just become soured off of "Save the Children." I think if you take that off and you put Lady Day and John Coltrane, it doesn't change the album horrifically, and it doesn't hurt. I think it improves the album a little bit more just because it's a little bit shorter. It's a little bit less of him singing, and it's more of like showing off kind of like a love for music, black culture, and like just that like New York vibe, that jazz feel. Like the Lady Day and John Coltrane is just him going like, "Hey, listen to these artists, it's fun." And it's just like, cool. "Home Is Where the Hatred Is," that is a good song. But then like, okay, let's go into like some of the other bad ones, right? "The Prisoner's 10 minutes. And even though I respect what that song's about and I love listening to it when I'm ready to listen to it, it's a long song. And because it comes right after "Needle's Eye," which that song grows on you, but it's also 5 minutes.
Yo. Wrap this shit up, big dog.
Hey, I'm going. Look. And someone, yeah,
only because you go so long, I forget what we're talking about.
Okay.
Hey, this
I'll
what,
say it like this though.
hey, this what,
So you can.
this what prisoner feels like, bro.
This is what a prisoner feels
We feel like minute number 7 right now. Bro.
Wait a minute. I want to revise. Now that I've gone through this experience, I want to revise what I think about the album. Because if he was feeling what I just felt over the past 3 to 4 minutes, maybe there's some meaning in the song that I missed.
All right. Well, let me go and finish on my point then. So you can take Save the Children off. I think you can take The Needle's Eye off because Sign of the Ages and Down You Fall.
At this point, just give us a rating, bro.
All right. I'll just say that the songs that you can take off this album, Save the Children, Needle's Eye, that can go somewhere else. And you can technically take The Prisoner off, but I actually do like this for the album. If you take the other 2 songs off, I think having a 10-minute song's not the worst. But anyways, for me,
Prisoner off, which hours of it would you take off? Like the first hour or the second hour?
Wait, what?
That shit
What do
2
you mean?
minutes.
You mean the first? The middle. No, the middle of like when he actually gets to the meat and potatoes of what that song "The Prisoner's" about. It's actually not bad. It's just there's so much ambiance. There's so much build up. They're trying to make it into like they can put it into like a music video and then like shoot it and then film everything and then be like, this is, the shit that happens in the United States system, right? Blah blah blah. So I'm wrapping that up. My overall take on this album is that I love it. Like I just love it. Like this is the positive messaging, the fact that it really lets you enjoy jazz while kind of getting good. Some people don't fuck with it, and that's completely fine. Like y'all, if y'all don't fuck with it, y'all don't fuck with it. But I've also listened to this for like years. So for me, I'm used to a lot of the shit that you guys have complaints about. I don't have a problem with it because I've listened to artists that sing poorly, but I like what they're trying to do and the messages they're getting across. For me, sometimes the message is more than the quote-unquote need to be executing on all cylinders.
That's fair.
Could he have gotten someone else to sing it? Sure, but I actually prefer his like common man voice.
That's fair.
But that's it. And for me, it's an A+ because of that. If you don't like it because it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. It's just, it's like Lauryn Hill, right? If I didn't like that, I don't think Lauryn Hill. Go ahead.
Hey, when I pull some Johnny Cinco out, you better have the same exact response. You better have the same.
No.
He's right. Wait. While he's joking, he is kind of right. Where it's just like because what you're saying, and we don't have a problem with it. What you're saying is sometimes you don't need people to execute and everything to be perfect. You just want to listen to what the person's doing and you appreciate what they're doing. So what he's saying is there's a couple artists that me and Woo listen to where it's just like can almost never understand what they're saying. It's just like,
I will say that because of us having like one, I don't know about you guys. I want your opinions on this. I feel like sometimes with the albums that we choose, it requires more than a week to digest, and sometimes it's better to like hear it and then throw that shit to the side somewhere and then come back later. Because a lot of times, like, because I never listened to R&B, right? I don't think I would have given SZA Control's album as good a rating had I not heard Shea Butter Baby before that to get me more in tune with that genre, right? And for me, as someone who listens to Jimi Hendrix religiously, Gil Scott-Heron's not really that much of like, hearing a bad singer. I'm fine with that. Used to it. But I think that's something that's like, I don't think we should ever feel like we should discredit each other on our opinions when it comes to we only have a week to kind of digest some of this shit. And there's a lot of albums that have so much.
Except, I feel like we all got the Meaning album right.
Y'all some haters, man. Y'all some straight up haters. Listen, y'all ain't gonna rate on Mr. Yellow Man's Parade, man. He out here chilling. An album.
No wonder you did a song with Smino. Yeah, Smino. Really did a song with Smino. He's trying to steal that nigga's swag, dude. He's trying to steal collected souls.
But yeah, let me pass it off to whoever wants next, man. I would love to hear like what your actual rating is. Polo, go ahead, man. I believe in you. We'll do a roller coaster. We'll go up and down.
I give this like a I would say a D+, C-. I think that I don't need it to be firing. I don't need music to always be firing on all cylinders. I don't need things to always be perfect. But what I do need is for there to be a coherent vision. It's like, well, this is what I'm trying to do with this piece of like media that I'm giving you, whether it's spoken word, whether it's movies, whether it's TV shows, gaming, whatever medium you choose. I want there to be a cohesive message you're trying to give out. Not that every song has to be the same. I want to know, I want to be able to see your creative process or listen to your creative process when it comes to my ears. And once again, I got 5 songs into this, and I was just like, I need to look this up because I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to be taking from this. Like I don't know what's going on. It's like if I just, it's like I walked into a movie. It's like I walked into the Matrix an hour and a half after the Matrix started. I'm just like, wait a minute, so that the guy's not real? It's just like, what do you mean everybody's computers? It's like that's what it felt like. Where it was just like, is there something I'm missing? Because the stark difference between the revolution that's will not be televised and Save the Children, and then there's never anything after that that's just like this is what we're talking about. I was just like, okay. Once I got that vision, I was just like, okay, I get it. But at the same time, even though I can applaud someone for trying something out and doing something that's a little bit like out of the ordinary, especially for the time period, doesn't mean I have to think it's good. Once again, Woo's going if Woo ever or me or Woo ever bring up like Johnny Cinco, people are going to think that like how is this even music? And we're gonna be like, you're not wrong for thinking that. We can't. I can't exactly tell you what he's saying. I've been in the car driving before, and my coworkers have been like, I played some Johnny Cinco, and they've been like, you can't understand what he's saying. I'm just like, I know, ain't it great?
Right.
Hey,
Ain't it great?
hey, I wanted to say one thing about your analogy though. It's like watching The Matrix coming in an hour late, and then while they're getting into a shootout, they have to answer a phone. It doesn't make any sense. It's like y'all have more important things to do than answer that fucking phone.
Basically. Nah, I'm gonna pass. So I give it like I'll settle on a D plus. I'll settle on a D plus. I'm gonna pass it on to Chattamoo, baby. Go ahead, big
Yo,
dog.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I'll give it a C. C plus. Somewhere between a C plus and C plus. Because like I said, I think there's a lot of the instrumentals were starting to kind of grow on me here and there. Like I had no problem with instrumentals. I had no problem with instrumentals. It was just
I hated
I
it.
don't want to say I hated it, but like it definitely like in order to get past the C, you probably have to have at least a couple songs I'm gonna put on my playlist,
Okay.
or at least a couple songs I'm gonna be like, okay, I really enjoyed that. It's something I can see myself listening to again. Where like if I never encounter him again in my life, I will be fine. It's like
Whoa.
there's nothing
I
from it
want to
that I
point out. I
saw that
want to
I
point
was
out.
like.
Y'all thought I was gonna say all this horrible stuff, but Cheddar and Will have definitely said way worse things on this. He said, "If I've never encountered him ever again in my life,
Unfortunately, you will. He has a lot he has a lot of songs that are sampled in a lot of important.
no. I'll be real with you. You know, you be good, bro. You can avoid
But
the question. You
like
can
I said,
avoid the
I
question.
mean, there's just none of it that I had any interest
I'm not
in
gonna
being like, okay,
go back
I
and
can.
listen to the Kanye song where he sampled it.
So
That's how much I hate this song.
you message Kanye like, "Hey man, why'd you do this? You created this timeline, Kanye, you mother."
That's kind of wild. But nah, go ahead.
um,
Go
yeah,
ahead. Go.
yeah. So like, yeah. So I mean, I there's not much that I would. In order to make it past the C, you have to at least have something that I'm like, all right, I'm really liking this. Which I mean, 40. There's been stuff that I randomly from stuff that you've offered. I've before. I wish I could talk.
Whoa, whoa. There's
It's
been
only
things
honest
that
with
brought
me
to
out. It's only
your
honest with me
attention that
out.
you started to like.
The stuff that you suggested before that I would have never thought I would have listened to ever again that I have. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I will say like Immortal Orchestra comes through on my random playlist. It's on my Apple Music rotation now. Like in terms of my random generated AI generated playlist, they throw that on every now and then. I'm like, oh, and it's a pleasant listen. It is a very pleasant listen.
What Allen Iverson got to do with this?
nothing, nothing. I just want to say it's not that everything you put forth is trash. It's just that today I wasn't really messing with it that much.
But I feel like for my rating system, because we never had to explain it before. I'm gonna keep it real short before we get to Will. A is obviously like a project you actually care about and you actually like. A B is like, okay, this is solid. I'm gonna take a couple of things away from here, but I'm not gonna like be playing the show all the time. A C to me is like, oh, okay, I can see the vision. I just don't fuck with it like that. A D and an F are like it gets. The only thing I've given an F to was the Gorillaz album. Like the D and the F range is like, oh, I will never listen to this again. And the F one is more like it's almost offensive. Like it's like Nazi literature to me. It's like I will never read this again. Like that's how bad I hated that Gorillaz album. I was just like, this is a band that I love, and I have to hate this album. I have to like when I see that album cover now, I physically get angry.
Hold on. By that analogy, does that mean that you're just mad that the Nazi literature wasn't well written?
I said what I said. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
And this is a man that fights for our country.
Go ahead, Will.
Mid is okay.
Mid is okay.
And this album was okay, so I gave it a C.
Nice.
For me, I give it a C because the singing isn't really there, but the instrumentals is. He got some good beats, man. And in the words of Patti LaBelle, where are my backup singers? Backup singers to the boy. Give me like 2, 3, like same like Harlem roughneck like
yo, stop grabbing
singing
throat like that, bitch.
Whoa.
Hold on for a second. Yo.
Give me the rest of the biz quiet.
Waldo,
where's Funkmaster Flex when you need
it? Exactly. I need a sign that says pause.
All right, so yeah, give it a C.
This man said, hey, yo, what you doing? Put your hands up. But nah, man. Okay, you know what? That's not bad. You know what I'm saying? A C, D plus, A plus. That brings up to about a C, C plus. It's not bad. Mid is okay.
Oh, what?
Mine was an A plus.
Oh, A plus.
He didn't pull a cheddar, bro. He stuck by it. He stuck by it.
No, but I had as I said, I had like years to listen to this album, so there's been things that I've just been grown accustomed to. Yeah, so when you guys make your criticism, I actually don't disagree.
There are definitely certain albums that will grow on you with time. Like, what is it? Like the Cow album. Gotta be fair. Until Benny the Butcher and 38 Special dropped their album or mixtape earlier this week. I was playing the Cow album. I was like, yo, this is really starting to grow on me. But then let's be clear though. Certain albums, I appreciate what you said, 40. I think you're right. Certain albums we do gotta give a little bit more time to. And then there's certain albums where it's just like you could lock me in a dungeon and make me play this for the rest of my life. And I would only come out saying I hated the songs worse than the dungeon. That's the Gorillaz. I'm sorry, I will always go back to that Gorillaz album because I can't believe it. I can't believe you heard that album and you were just like, you know what?
Well, I always say it like this, right? I'll say it like this. That album.
I need to go back and watch that live. I need to go back and rewatch that live. Yeah. I need to figure out what you said about it and then go back and maybe try to listen to the album through the scope of like, this is what 40 said this album was. And then maybe I'll come up with a different opinion.
I'll try to be quick about it. The reason why I love that Gorillaz album is because that was my gateway to a lot of different genres of music, right? Because during that time, I was a grunge head. I liked the alternative indie rock and shit. I liked hip hop during that time, but that was like it. Like that was my like go-tos. Would be like either Nirvana, Wu-Tang, or fucking Creed or something, right? So it was like that was the three. Then Gorillaz came out during Demon Days, and then I discovered their original Gorillaz album where they were bringing out Latin Simone. They had some house music. They had some like underground rap. That's where you got Del the Funky Homo Sapien and that Clint Eastwood. So that's why I love that album. Because I've listened to so many of those songs, and I used to play video games where I just digested. So that was it.
And
if you don't like it,
in that case, the next album I want to submit whenever my turn comes up is I want to do Case, the R&B artist's first album. Not because it's good, and not because I like Case, not even because I even like anything off of that album, but because that was one of the first R&B albums I heard.
Well, I mean,
without that album, I don't know where my R&B, like, that's the roots. That's where it got all started from.
Well, to my other point, right?
Hold on,
If I were to go and
one
build,
more. I also want to submit the Rugrats movie, the first movie album, because that's the first album that I heard. Wait,
Bing,
let me finish,
bang.
let me finish, let me finish. I got
Walla walla
close.
bing bang.
There you go. That's the first time I heard Maya, and then I was like, yo, Maya's actually kind of fire. So you know what? I get it.
hey,
I'm not gonna lie.
well, you know
What?
what?
In the spirit of
You know
Halloween,
what?
can I submit something also? Can I submit the Friday the 13th soundtrack?
Yeah. I mean,
Let's do a soundtrack. Let's do a
jokes
soundtrack
aside,
month.
though.
Let's do a soundtrack month.
I mean,
Yo,
and also
movie
that would
soundtrack.
be cool. I'll be down.
Let me go ahead and pull out this Curtis Mayfield Superflox. See, you motherfuckers don't never understand this shit, bro.
In the
I'll
moment of
submit Bando Stone in
power,
the New World.
You said what?
Bando Stone in the New World. Technically a soundtrack that
Oh my
Bro.
god! Yo,
Oh.
get your man.
Every time we try to escape, we get pulled back in.
You can't escape the internet. It's all because of the internet.
The worst
Kobe,
thing
your
is
Mount
Gambino.
Rushmore just like a whole
Gambino is
bunch of different cancer
multi-talented.
rappers.
Hold on. The worst thing is Childish Gambino is multi-talented, so we can really never get away from him.
Yeah.
It's just like he's in movies, TV shows, songs.
Money's gonna go. Hey guys, don't worry. He finally dropped his stand-up special on an album format. So it's like, oh shit.
He made a soundtrack to his stand-up.
He did
special. Ah!
say he's trying to get back
All
into
right, guys.
comedy. He did say he might as well do a little bit of stand up again.
We're not doing this. We'll get us out of here. Get us out.
Well,
Getting a little childish out here.
well, we thought it was mid, but of course, it's all about what you think about it. It's not about us. So
Perspective.
yeah, y'all listen to pieces of it, man. Let us know what you think about
Wish
it.
that man had more pieces.
Hey, yo, Paul.
Whoa.
Hold on now. Hold on now. Hey, calm down.
Pieces of a man.
What album were you listening to? That was never something you said.
Of course, we will not be doing an episode next Sunday as a whole, because you know, for
Organization and a crew.
But me and Fu, we might
Woo
drop
and Fu.
something more at about the same time. I don't know. We'll figure it out during the week.
Woo and Fu, man.
Y'all be on the lookout for that while some of my brethren go on a mission trip to. Kobe look like he ready to take a mission trip after.
Whoa.
Build us a house.
You can't tell him to go back to Africa.
Man, sound like your boy out there, man. Sound like your future and
Oh
past
yeah,
boy.
my bad. I forgot. Wu voted for Trump, didn't he? That's why he's red right now. Hey, yo, what happened?
Is that
You tell me what happened.
where you get that hat from?
I remember, if y'all go back and y'all listen to like the first or second live, Wu does say, "Man, without that stimulus check, where would I be?" And then ever since then, I don't know, man.
Again, brought to you by the Gaslighters.
He said
Hey.
his favorite holiday is January 6th.
Man, they sent me so many text messages over the last 2 weeks, bro.
Yeah.
yo, Blue's over here. It's like, anybody else can get text from the Trump campaign, and we're all just like
Nope.
we're all just like, what? No, they don't have our number. Why do they have your number?
Man, hey, y'all don't listen to none of that, man. We don't entertain foolishness here. We just entertain straight loud entertainment.
The revolution will not be televised.
Great.
It will not be televised.
Okay, on that note,
What up? Bye. Hey, happy Halloween, everybody. Be safe out there.